Okay, good evening, social network video stream watchers. Thanks for joining us. This is Martial Arts World Radio. We have a great show for you tonight. Our guest this evening, Justin Bruckmann on fighting David Loiseau and Georges St. Pierre. We have Bob Wall on his first encounters with Chuck Norris and Bruce Lee, training with Chuck Norris and Bruce Lee, and starring in films with Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris. And we also have Michael Matsuda, Master Michael Matsuda, who is the president of the world-famous one-of-a-kind Martial Arts History Museum. Once again, this is Martial Arts World Radio. Thanks for tuning in. Martial Arts World Radio is brought to you by our sponsors, Prospect Fighting Championships. Please check them out at www.prospectfights.com. Also check out www.bobwallworldblackbelt.com, the world's foremost online martial arts and MMA community. That's www.bobwallworldblackbelt.com. And also our sponsor, Kyani independent distributor Daniel Girage. Kyani is a leading provider of all natural health and wellness products that provide athletes with faster post-training recovery and energy. Endorsed and used by professional fighters and martial artists, including Josh Tyler, Manny Pacquiao, even Jackie Chan. You can find out more by reaching out to Daniel. That's Daniel Girage. Reach out to him at Kyani, K-Y-A-N-I, Kyani Health Australia at gmail.com. Again, Kyani Health Australia at gmail.com, or Skype Daniel at the exact same address. Go on Skype and put in Kyani Health Australia at gmail.com. Don't worry about the Australia. He ships everywhere in the world. Again, this is Martial Arts World Radio. Our guest tonight, Justin Bruckmann on fighting Georges St. Pierre and David Loiseau. Bob Wall on training and working with Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris. And Mr. Michael Matsuda, Grandmaster Michael Matsuda, president of the world-famous one-of-a-kind Martial Arts History Museum. Thank you for joining us for Martial Arts World Radio. We're going to be streaming in about 3 or 4 minutes' time. Okay, Ethan, if you would please put those in the headphones so that they can pick up on the monitor, that would be great. Thank you, sir. Yeah, tuck those right in there. Good job. And let's make sure this one's plugged in. Yep. A little bit of finesse on our cameras. That's better. That's hopefully not too distracting for everybody. Thanks again for joining us. This is Martial Arts World Radio. We're going to be streaming in about 2 minutes' time, just after some news and weather. Good job, Ethan. All right, good job, son. Hey, Ethan, can you do me a favor? Grab one of those KFC cups and fill it up with water for Dad. Thank you, son. Much appreciated, dude. Okay, once again, for those of you who are just joining us from our social network live video stream, this is Martial Arts World Radio, and we're going to get the show kicked off in about 2 minutes time after a little bit of news and weather. Tonight's episode, we have some very interesting guests. We have professional mixed martial artist and trainer of champions, Justin Bruckmann, talking about his experience fighting Georges St. Pierre and David Loiseau. We've got the legendary Bob Wall talking about his first encounters with Chuck Norris and Bruce Lee, two gentlemen who eventually became very good friends of his, how he trained with both of them and how he starred in films with both of them. And then we've also interviewed and included on the show tonight, Michael Matsuda, who's the president of the world famous one-of-a-kind Martial Arts History Museum. Again, this is Martial Arts World Radio. Thanks for joining us on the live stream. Don't go away. We're going to start the show in a couple of minutes. Thank you, son. Appreciate it, dude. Tonight's show is brought to you by our sponsors at www.bobwallworldblackbelt.com, the world's foremost online martial arts and MMA online community. But again, that's www.bobwallworldblackbelt.com. Also, Prospect Fighting Championships. Check them out at www.prospectfights.com. And we also have a sponsor who's an independent distributor of Kyanie products, Daniel Gerage. Kyanie is a leading provider of all natural health and wellness products that provide athletes with faster post-training recovery and training and energy. Endorsed and used by professional fighters and martial artists, including Josh Tyler, Manny Pacquiao, and even Jackie Chan. You can find out more by reaching out to our independent distributor, Daniel. He's our independent Kyanie distributor at KyanieHealthAustralia@gmail.com. And Kyanie is spelled Kyani. You can also Skype Daniel. You can Skype him right now, in fact, at KyanieHealthAustralia@gmail.com. Yes, his Skype address is KyanieHealthAustralia@gmail.com. Also, check out the books 21st Century Perspectives on Martial Arts and The Tao of MMA. You can find them at Amazon, and you can Google them by searching 21st Century Perspectives on Martial Arts and The Tao of MMA. This is Martial Arts World Radio, and we're going to be getting on the road in about 1 minute time. Thanks for joining us. Okay, let's tuck those back in. I took them out for the announcement. Here's my good buddy, Charles Wilton. Thanks for tuning in, Charles. Stick around. Something's going on with the Facebook live stream. Here, take a look.
That's frozen.
Okay, good. We're back.
Is brought to you by Leslie Motors in Walkerson, Harrison, and Lincoln, your Ford F-150 headquarters.
Now it is update to the Canadian press. The presence of NHL players on Olympic rosters had made them something of a dream in years gone by, but it appears that dream has died for next year's Winter Games. The league has released a statement saying there will be no NHL talent playing in South Korea, and the matter is officially closed. The federal Liberals are facing heat for providing a multi-million-dollar loan to transportation giant Bombardier. after its board of directors voted its top executives a 50% pay hike. NDP leader Tom Mulcair in the Commons today demanded to know the terms of that loan. There's some success and some failure in efforts to rescue sea creatures from thick pack ice off a Newfoundland island. Residents have managed to pluck 5 dolphins out, but a humpback whale has died after being trapped in a cove. A high-profile radio psychologist is making sexual harassment claims against Fox News host Bill O'Reilly. Dr. Wendy Walsh says she's doing it for her daughter. From the Canadian Press, I'm Roger Wood.
Here's Mark and Don Leslie from Leslie Motors in Harrison, Walkerton, and Wingham.
Spring is in the air. You're a good singer. Not. Well, the Blue Jays are playing, and the Leafs and Raptors are in battle for playoff spots. Ford has some great incentives to offer, too. 0% financing up to 72 months, 0% lease rate up to 48 months, and rebates up to $10,000 on select vehicles. Plus, every new Ford sold by Leslie Motors gets a 2-year or 40,000-kilometer maintenance plan and no extra charge. Check out LeslieMotors.com for all the offers and like our Facebook page for a chance to win some Leslie Motors swag.
Mainly cloudy for Monday, a 30% chance of showers early. Wind becoming southeast at 30 kilometers, gusting to 50, calling for a high of 13 degrees. For tonight, periods of rain, a low of +5. Tuesday looking like more rain, a high of 9 degrees. Cloudy periods overnight and a low of 0. Wednesday calling for a mix of sun and cloud, a high of 12 degrees. Periods of rain overnight and a low of +5. For Thursday, more rain, high of 7. Cloud overnight and 70% chance of rain, low of +2 degrees. And looking forward to Friday, calling for cloud with a 60% chance of rain showers or flurries and a high of +2 degrees.
20 seconds.
There is going to be a country music dance at the Hanover Legion with the music
Nice and warm,
supplied by the Revised Country Way. This takes place on Friday, April the 7th from 8 p.m. to 12 a.m. The cost is only $12. There is a light lunch provided. And for further information, you can call 519-364-1130. Proceeds to the Legion.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and not necessarily those of Blue Water Radio.
Martial Arts World Radio is brought to you by Bruce County Combat and Fitness in Washington. Check out the full list of classes at brucecountycombat.com.
This is Olympic Taekwondo Silver medalist Pierre. You are listening to Martial Arts World Radio with Joseph Clark.
Welcome to Martial Arts World Radio. I'm your host, Joseph Clark. Each episode, we feature many of the best fighters in the world from the UFC, Bellator, the Olympics, as well as martial arts legends, pioneers, and cinema stars, as we share best practices and philosophies using martial arts as a metaphor for life's challenges, for training, and for competing. Over the next hour, I will feature interviews with professional MMA fighter Justin Bruckmann on fighting Georges St. Pierre, David Loiseau, and training tomorrow's champions. Also, my interview with a regular on the show, the legendary Bob Wall, on his first encounters with 2 gentlemen who eventually became very dear friends and training partners to him, Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris. And my interview with Michael Matsuda, president of the world-famous one-of-a-kind Martial Arts History Museum. Welcome to our latest syndication network affiliates, MetaCafe, WorldNews.com, Radio.net, and CKLU 96.7 FM in Sudbury, Ontario, Canada. Welcome and thank you for carrying the show. A further welcome to our latest sponsor, Kyani independent consultant, Daniel Gerage. You can click on his advertisement at the show website at mawradio.com. Martial Arts World Radio is currently seeking sponsors. If you have a product or brand which you wish to advertise and promote to our over 1 million weekly global listeners, reach out to me at producer@mawradio.com. Our first interview is brought to you by Prospect Fighting Championships. Check them out at www.prospectfights.com. Justin Bruckmann is a retired Canadian mixed martial artist who competed in the lightweight division. He won his last fight against Yoichi Fukumoto on November 12, 2004. Bruckmann currently teaches Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at Bruckmann Martial Arts in Oshawa, Ontario, Canada. During his career, he fought several tough competitors, including UFC future notable David Loiseau and world champion George St. Pierre.
Justin, this is a privilege for us to have you as a guest. Welcome to the show. Tell us about your fight against UFC great George St. Pierre.
Yeah, that's always the question. Everyone wants to hear. That was a long time ago. It wasn't much of a fight. Like, you know, honestly, I was the champion at the time, and George grabbed me and throttled me about 3 minutes, and that was it. To me at the time, it was a huge tragedy, but it ended up being, you know, a massive blessing for me in my career. And as a person, too, definitely strengthened me and made me really dedicate myself to my craft and improve.
How long ago was that?
Oh, man. I think it was 2002, maybe 2003, so a long time ago. A couple he went off to the UFC, a couple fights after that, and I think he was champion not too long after that as well.
And was that the only time you crossed paths with GSP?
In the ring, yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, over the years, we bumped into each other here and there. Like, that's about it, you know what I mean? So, yeah, super nice guy, real humble, and always gracious when we do meet each other, for sure.
And David Loiseau was also a UFC competitor, and the documentary film, The Striking Truth, juxtaposes both his and George St. Pierre's fight careers. Now, you beat David once, and then he beat you once. Would you share your experiences fighting David?
You know what? It's both very valuable. My first fight against him was that was my first professional matchup ever. And I'm really happy. He's such a good guy, and we're good friends. So it's really, you know, it was really cool to share it with him. And a few months later, he got me back. It was kind of weird. It was supposed to be a elimination tournament, but I think he made him the favorite. So I beat him in the first round, and then all of a second we had the second round. We had a rematch. You know what I mean? So I kind of got beat out of the tournament. But I think he was favored to. He went on to win. I think he was favored to win, but that's nothing to do with me. That's the promoter's business. So. You know what? Great experience. I learned lots and lots and to win, and I took it, and it helped me throughout my life. Well,
so those fights with, I'm sure you fought some really, really good fighters. How would you say the fight, for example, with George St. Pierre compared to some of the other fights in your professional career?
I think I said it earlier. My matchup with George wasn't a fight. He literally just beat me up. And if I fought George 100 times, he would just beat me 100 times. He's the greatest fighter to ever live, and I'd be happy that, you know, I got a chance to be in there with this player, you know, of that caliber, and it turned out to be such a success too, because he really deserved it, you know. I'd like to say he's tough, but I never got to find out because, you know, it was one-sided. I fought tons and tons of tough guys. And I really got to test him and they tested me, but George wasn't one of them because, like I said, it wasn't a fight.
And you were 7 wins, 3 losses in your professional career, correct?
Yeah.
What was your toughest fight?
2 that stand out would have been a man named Phil Hughes. I beat him for his Canadian championship, and he was just the toughest dude I've ever met in my life. He was just an awesome guy. And, he passed away now. He got cancer a few years ago, but you know, he was a university professor in music or something, and he just wanted to take it up and try it, and he dedicated himself. And that guy was tough. I tried to murder him for 20 minutes. He kept getting up and smile, and it was a huge honor to fight that guy as well. Like just tough as nails. The other man I would say is I fought in Tokyo in 2004 with a guy named Yoshi Fukumoto. And the same thing, that was an absolute battle, and I got so much respect for that guy because I put it on him, and he just kept coming back for more.
How was that Tokyo audience?
I would fight in Japan 1,000 times. It's so awesome there. It's the country, the people, and their appreciation for martial arts is so much different than it is here. You know, North Americans are a little less educated on the martial arts and the technique, and they're a little more. It's a little more sports entertainment here, a little more bloodthirsty. They really appreciate, you know, the honor and the tradition and the technique that comes along with a good fight.
Justin, what styles are you formally trained in?
I started my martial arts career in judo. I got my black belt in judo, and then I moved on, and I was cross training for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I'm a second degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I've been training kickboxing like religiously for 3 or 4 years now as well with some really great coaches. So I've been all I've been all over the place. But like, my heart's always pursuing jiu-jitsu. That's where I really fell in love with everything.
Now you mentioned you've been all over the place. Would you share with us where some of your travels have gone to?
For martial arts, I mean, anywhere I've been in the world, it's been because of martial arts. It's not. I may have not gone to these countries and places to do martial arts. It was martial arts that allowed me to travel all over the world. It changed my whole life. I never left my hometown until for a year, and then next thing I was flying all over the planet. I got a lot of love for all the places. But then I got to train all over Canada, the States, and Japan while I was there. Just, you know, martial arts makes everything better because it just gives you this automatic connection and camaraderie with people all over the world. So, I mean, I've been everywhere. I think I've hit 25 countries now, just traveling and, you know, just living life.
Have you fought in Europe?
No, I've never. When I go to Europe every couple of years, I go to eat. I don't want to do martial arts while I'm there. I'm going to eat, drink beer, and that's it.
Did you fight in any other Asian countries besides Japan?
No, that was the only one. I mean, Thailand is on my list. I'd like to go over there and train and the culture as well, but it's just something that hasn't lined up yet.
Do you have a particular memorable moment? I'm going to put you on the spot here, but in your professional career, do you have a particular memorable moment or experience that stands out?
Yeah, absolutely. When I had a lot of great crowning moments in my career as a competitor. I actually have a photograph of me winning my first championship against a few years ago, and it's captured just perfectly. And that was just the best night of my life, because to me, growing up in the way and for my background and
yep, I'm picking it up too. Are you?
Where I came from,
it's just about 3 decibels below.
Before I never finished the goal, and I don't believe that.
So
I never expected.
I would say leave it for now. If it gets worse, then we'll just switch it up.
So for me, it was my match against the
I think
leader. I had my history. That was the best moment of my life still.
How long was your amateur career before you went professional?
Well, I mean, I'm old as dirt, man. So when I was competing, there was no amateur. Like my dirt, we fought the very first UPC TKO or whatever it was. It's one of the first shows ever in Canada. There was no amateur. There was no nothing. We showed up, did our blood work, got the cage and got it done. That was it. I did some judo and jiu-jitsu competitive in that scene, but as far as MMA, there wasn't any. We just fought.
So Justin, did you do any full contact or point karate or anything like that before you got into MMA?
Nope. No, not at all. I think like everything was grappling based for me, grappling, judo, jiu-jitsu. So no formal like boxing or kickboxing, anything. For me, boxing and kickboxing have only been the last few years. My first 2, 3 public professional fights, I hit a punch head. Like back then, it was just tough guys who came from it was style versus style. You know what I mean? And there was no amateur then. It was just punch tough guys. I did all sorts of fights, but you know, nothing we should really talk about.
So Justin, tell us about your personal philosophy when it comes to training and preparing for a fight.
Me personally, man, you know what? You gotta have fun. For me, what I learned over years is when it became a job and when it became stressful, I stopped growing and I stopped as a fighter and as a person. It got stagnant. I think you need to, especially for young people, you need to find a balance in your life where you can enjoy training all the time, and you can't do that unless you take time off the mat and have something else for yourself, spend time with your friends and family, because it's a grueling career. It's really hard emotionally, physically, financially. It's great. So if you don't find a way early on in your career to balance that out with other things that you love, you're going to burn out really fast. Other than that, leave on the mat, train hard, be conservative, and then training can't hit. You got to get it done. Surround yourself with positive people and work your ass off.
So you mentioned there a moment ago that it's a hard career emotionally. How so?
Man, you know, the highs are extremely high and the lows are really low. Like if you ever heard that door locker that's over, it can't really be explained to you. It's the greatest 15 minutes of your existence being in there. Yeah. So in everything you do, everything I do, my whole life, all I've ever done is fight. Everything I've ever done is for that time in the cage or the ring. For the last 8 weeks, every sip of water, every bite of food, every time you get out of bed, every time you put on your shoes, all of that was just for that. And whether you win or lose, it doesn't matter. After that, it's over. And then you're sitting there wondering what to do next. And some people deal with it much better than others. But I know for me, like, post-fight depression is always really horrible. Like, because you're so cranky and everything's so amazing you want, and everything was for that. And then it just stops. And then you fall off your diet, and you're partying with your buddies, and you don't know what's coming next, what fight's coming next. You only made $200, you do it, you broke, you know what I mean? So the highs are extremely high. When you win a fight, it's the best in the world. When you lose, it's like, it's like you lost your best friend. It's really difficult to do it. Especially when your career comes to an end as well, which is something when you're young you don't think about. And when it happens, man, it's horrible. It's really, for me, especially other people might be different, but it's been very difficult still.
It's interesting you mentioned that. So I had a colleague who ran an Ironman, and he said the same thing. He said that he trained, everything was focused. It was about that Ironman, and the training, it was the journey that was so rewarding. And then when the event was over, he said it was really depressing, and it took him quite a while to recover. And a lot of marathon runners talk about that too. So it's interesting that you mentioned that.
Well, I think there's a quote I read that says "Fighter dies twice." Well, I'm 100%. I agree with that. I mean, when my career was over, I didn't know it was over. I was injured in 2004, and I didn't know to the extent that I was until a little later on. So I didn't know my last fight was my last fight until later on when I realized I was spinal injury. I wasn't coming back, and I died, and part of me died. And I started. And then you got to figure out how to live your life after that, and switch over to other things, right? So,
Justin, how did the spinal injury occur?
Just years of abuse and not taking care of my body. A lot of it was like I heard it in judo early on. I think I did like 4 days of judo, and I did a tournament, like my first year of competition. And I think I hurt my neck the very first tournament I ever competed in, and I never addressed the issue because I was just young and stubborn and cutting it out. And then just got worse and worse, and then before it was over, there was not much left again. And now I've just hurt fused, and it's a degenerative disc disease and all sorts of stuff, right? So it's it's again, if you don't take care of yourself as a young fighter and as a young person, you're gonna stay for it later, and that's exactly what happened to me. That's my role now. Is to coach and make sure that these young guys and girls are protected, because someone needs to protect these guys for themselves.
Justin, what values do you try to instill in your students?
That's a hard question to know, because everyone that comes in the door is a little bit different, and some of them already have all the values you need, and some of them keep me, so work ethic, I personally believe work ethic is everything. That's one of the biggest things for me. You can be tough or you're gifted athletically, but if you don't have the work ethic in the heart, then you're going nowhere. Eventually you're going to tank out. I think that's what my fighters show up first and leave last, and I think that's huge. Work ethic is everything, and positive attitude all the time. Like, I want to be coming to the gym and they're negative, and you're never going to succeed like that. You need to come in, work hard, and be happy about it, man. This is an amazing opportunity for you to experience and see the world and compete and do amazing things.
Now, Justin, as I understand it, you had a recent challenge with your gym. Would you please tell us about that?
I have a great job. I have a great job. It is a real dream. Sometimes in my gym, my child I built as a person that built it from nothing. And I walked in there almost 3 weeks ago, and a hot water tank rusted out and flooded absolutely everything. I lost everything. Yeah. So, I mean, it's everything I've ever done in my life is for this place. I'm just, I've been sitting around my butt for 3 weeks now waiting for insurance to come through. So, all my team's so loyal, so awesome. Everyone kind of sitting back and you're supporting me, and so I'm hopefully we'll be running another 2 weeks. It's been tough. Like, this is the busiest time of year, and I'm not selling any membership, so it's pretty scary stuff.
It's tough. I'm sorry to hear about the flood, and I do hope that they do get you up in time. I'm glad to hear that you're insured, but yeah, that's an unfortunate event, isn't it?
Well, yeah, you know what? So it's been, for me, it's been a blessing in disguise, and it really, you know, I'm going to build a new facility, I'm going to make it run at better level, and, you know, it's given me a real eye-opener how much our community cares, like phone calls and emails and support, like everywhere, not just where I live in Oswald and like teammates, but other schools and people that I haven't even had to talk to that have been, you know, helpful, like hundreds of emails and phone calls, you know, telling me how much you know, I really want to get back and stuff like that. So it's been, as much as this sucks, as whole things happen, I feel a lot of love, and I'm really fortunate that I've got to, you know, kind of see where I am in the community and in the world that you know, the things that I'm doing are coming back to me, you know.
Well, Justin, that kind of response from the community reflects on you, and it says something about you and about your club. Now, these interviews are a lot like MMA fights. They're a lot of fun, and they go by way too quickly. Justin, we must wrap up our interview. However, we wish you the best of luck and success with your gym, and congratulations on your MMA career.
Oh, thank you very much. I really appreciate you having me. I love doing this stuff. So, again.
Oh, you're always welcome. Thanks again.
You have been listening to my interview with Justin Bruckmann.
BWR 91.3, the place to be.
Bruce County Combat and Fitness in Walkerton offers recreational and competitive kickboxing and boxing classes for children and adults, as well as yoga classes. Your first class is always free to try. Bruce County Combat and Fitness offers single monthly memberships for as low as $45 and $67 for a family. Their drop-in fees are only $7 for most classes and just $5 for yoga and Little Warriors. Check out their full schedule at brucecountycombat.com. Find them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. They also sell a full range of fight gear and apparel.
Here's Mark and Donna Leslie from Leslie Motors in Harrison, Walkerton, and Wingham.
Don, one of the benefits of selling new Ford vehicles is we get some great quality pre-owned vehicles in our trade. You're right, Mark. These trade-ins are often bought brand new from us and serviced at one of our 3 locations as well. We then perform a very thorough inspection during the safety process and then price them very competitively in the market. Quality pre-owned vehicles, priced right. Check out LeslieMotors.com for our entire pre-owned inventory.
Leslie Motors in Harrison, Walkerton, and Wingham.
Tired of hard water wreaking havoc around your home? Dry skin and lifeless hair? Dull and dingy laundry? Soap scum and spotted glasses too?
Hey, Culligan man! A Culligan water softener turns hard water soft every time. Soft water is the answer. Not cleaning soaps or detergents. Culligan saves you up to 50% on soaps and detergents while turning your laundry, bathroom, and kitchen brilliant, like me. Hey, Culligan man!
Guys generally don't like to talk about it, but the truth is that testicular cancer is the #1 cancer for men ages 15 to 29. Even though if detected and treated early, it's over 95% curable. For more information, visit the Canadian Testicular Cancer Association at www.tctca.org. Know the signs. Don't risk your life.
Martial Arts World Radio is brought to you by Bruce County Combat and Fitness in Walkerton. Check out the full list of classes at brucecountycombat.com. Bruce County Combat and Fitness in Walkerton offers recreational and competitive kickboxing and boxing classes for children and adults, as well as yoga classes. Your first class is always free to try. Bruce County Combat and Fitness offers single monthly memberships for as low as $45 and $67 for a family. Their drop-in fees are only $7 for most classes and just $5 for yoga and Little Warriors. Check out their full schedule at brucecountycombat.com. Find them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. They also sell a full range of fight gear and apparel.
As a UFC fighter, Jason Sacco, you are now listening to Martial Arts World Radio with Joseph Clark.
Our next interview is brought to you by Kyani independent distributor Daniel Girage. Kyani is a leading provider of all-natural health and wellness products that provide athletes with faster post-training recovery and energy. Endorsed and used by professional fighters and martial artists, including Josh Tyler, Manny Pacquiao, and even Jackie Chan. You can find out more by reaching out to Daniel at Kyani, that's K-Y-A-N-I, Kyani Health Australia @gmail.com, or Skype him at that exact same address, Kyani Health Australia @gmail.com. Bob Wall is a world karate champion with an incredible pedigree of multiple black belts in various disciplines. He was front and center with Chuck Norris, Joe Louis, and Gene LaBelle during the golden era of competitive martial arts. He co-starred in 3 Bruce Lee films and several films with his good friend, Chuck Norris.
Bob, welcome to the show.
It's my pleasure. It's good to hear your voice again.
Well, it's good to have you back again. You're a regular.
Well, that's a good thing. But since I'm on with the greatest interviewer in all of Canada and probably North America and possibly the world.
Oh, wow. Well,
great interviews, by the way. Congratulations.
Well, I do appreciate that. Now, we had an interesting discussion that you had shared with me, and I know you've had this discussion with Chuck Norris as well, and it had to do with martial arts being part of being part of school curriculum or being part of physical education curriculum. It is in other countries, some other countries, Asian countries, it is mandatory training. How do you feel about that?
You know, Chuck and I both believe that it should be mandatory training because, you know, we've had so many of these ridiculous idiot left-wingers taking prayer out of school, taking prayer off of, after Tito, because he's playing, after a play in football. We need the things that give people respect. And we need things in school that make young people feel good about themselves. And as Frank Law said, it's a person at peace with himself is at peace with their fellow man. So we can go to, say, these violent protesters at a Donald Trump rally. They have no respect for themselves or for Donald Trump or for Hillary Clinton or anybody else. What happened to free speech? What happened to respect? And so that's what Chuck Norris and I believe, my good friend after 52 years, it's about respect. It's about feeling good about yourself. Because if you feel good about yourself, you feel good about your fellow man. It's just all this hate and this lack of civil discourse that's creating so much havoc on society. So we need to start training these youngsters early on with the huge advantages of respect. I roll with the greatest martial artists in my lifetime at 77 and have, well over 65 years of martial arts training. And the greatest, toughest people on earth, men and women, are the most respectful, kindest, nicest people. Just don't grab their mates' tush, don't threaten their children, and do not mess with their pet. Then you're going to see a side of them you're probably going to die for. But short of that, they're the nicest people. It's the bullies. It's the mid-range ding-dongs who don't feel good about themselves. So that's why Chuck Norris and I feel so passionate. And he's proved it for over 20 years in Texas. He's got thousands of students. And what started as Kick Drugs Out of America now shortened to Kickstart, because he believes he's kickstarting these people for life. So yes, I'm very passionate. I believe martial arts should be mandatory in school from the beginning to the end.
So Bob, when you were running your own school, when you and Chuck were partners in running your schools, before you would promote a student, was it as much about them demonstrating certain aspects of their character as it was about their prowess as a martial artist before they could get graduated to another belt?
More so, because we fail people at red belt and people at brown belt, and some their tests before black belt, and they have many times we see amazing physical skills, but no character. You're beating up smaller people, little people, immoral acts, drug use, disgracing or disrespecting your country, your parents, all these basics that are important to becoming a good human being. So absolutely, yes, we would fail them a lot quicker for character issues and physical deficiencies, because they can all be overcome.
Now, you were a world champion martial artist. You had full contact karate. You're a pioneer in full contact, in fact. When you were fighting against these tough competitors and competing for world titles, would you see aspects of character that came out made a difference in those competitors and some of those people who you were fighting in those situations?
No, absolutely. The best of the best always have great character. The Chuck Norris, the Pat Burris, the Jim Harrison. I mean, you could just go on and on. The Ben Urquidez, you could just go on and on and on and on. The greatest martial artists, the greatest competitors were always the nicest people, followed the rules, had great character, and yes, I've been blessed because I've gotten to know the greatest martial artists on the planet, you know, in my 60 plus years of martial arts. And it just overwhelms you when you realize that the best are the best as human beings.
Yes. Speaking of which, I mean, you've been friends with Chuck Norris now a good portion of your life. You've been business partners with Chuck Norris. He was an incredible competitor. Has he been an inspiration for you?
Oh, absolutely. You know, we became partners, and I was a judo black belt. I was Gene LaBelle's black belt. I'm more of a grappler, street fighter kind of a guy, and we started punching and kicking relatively late to my martial arts career. So in 61, 62, that was 4 or 5 years after I started. I started to punch and kick. So when I met Hollis, Chuck's real name, as you know, Chuck's a nickname. He's half Indian, half Cherokee Indian, half Irish. And although he doesn't look like a Hollis with green eyes and blonde hair, but yeah, he was always an inspiration because I started watching in 1964 and he lost a big tournament up in Seattle. And he took 3 students with him. They all won. In fact, one of the red belts beat Mike Stone, who's never been defeated in black belt competition. And I asked Mike, that's what you lost. He said, well, that was the grand champion. Oh, I get it. Okay. So a lot of people want to change the facts. Pretty hard to do. But I watched how amazingly kind he was in losing and how encouraging he was and complimentary to his 3 students who won. And but it was point fighting, you know, and he really didn't lose, but he had to accept it. And that was one of the many reasons that we started focusing on full contact and ultimately kickboxing and ultimately MMA, because if you could take it out of the judge's hands, you know, that was a much healthier thing. But yeah, I watched him down, I watched him up, I watched him win his first title in 1965 against Juan Martini, and he was equally gracious in winning as losing. Chuck Norris is just one of the best humans ever from this planet. And he's just a kind, intelligent, moral, godly, Christian man. He's just such a good man. I've been so blessed. When we became partners, part of the glue was that we were egoless. I knew he was a better karate guy, which is what we were selling, and he knew I was a better businessman. And so we never had a contract except an oral one. Okay, Carlos, you're the boss on the mat, and you're the better karate guy. And trust me, I spent over 50 years trying to get as good as him. I was always from 2 feet to 1 inch behind. He's just an amazing martial artist. But character, oh my gosh, this guy is just amazing. He's a tremendous man, and I'm so proud of him and happy for his success financially and in his life.
Now, as a friend of Bruce Lee's, for example, you would have seen this as well in how he ran his school, because as I understand it, he would teach anybody of any race at a time when a lot of martial arts schools were quite racist. Was that correct?
Oh, absolutely. It was huge racism. I mean, I myself, at 15, I started going up. I was in San Jose, California. I was San Francisco, which is 30 or 40 minutes away at that time. And all I knew was judo and kung fu at that time. Wrestling, judo, and kung fu. So the Teddy Roosevelt being a black belt in judo, which got a lot of press. But I found at least 15 schools, Chinese kung fu schools. Oh, him no, him gone, no here. And years later, when I explained to Bruce, he said, oh yeah, that was prejudice. You're white, but that was prejudice. Now you know how blacks in America feel, and maybe some Asians. He said, Chinese do not teach non-Chinese. And so he said that was just their form of prejudge. But his first student was black, his best friend was Japanese, He was 1/8 German. And so he understood, as Carlos Chuck Norris understood, racism up close and personal.
Yes.
You're Eurasian or you're half Indian, and they got it early and overcame it, and became brilliant people. And Bruce, I just loved him. He was another wonderful, fabulous human, kind, brilliant, funny, bright, hardworking. I mean, he just had it all.
Now, Bob, we're going to wrap up. It's a short one here today, but I can't thank you enough for joining us as you did. This has been an interview with martial arts legend Bob Wall. Bob, thank you.
It's been my pleasure. You really do a great show. I love your perspective on your interviews. The one you do with Video Cheese is outstanding, but all of them are. You ask some very interesting questions that you get into a perspective. I'm very proud of you and happy to be here.
Thanks very much. It's a privilege to have you on the show, and we look forward to having you back real soon. Thanks again, Bob.
This has been an interview with legend Bob Wall.
This is Emily from Ladam Reflections in Durham. Ladam Reflections, this area's newest women's clothing and accessory destination. We stock 75% Canadian-made brands with exciting designs, all at fabulous prices. Visit us as we approach our first anniversary. Right now, our clearance sale is on, with exciting spring and summer fashions arriving soon. Visit Lisa or I at Ladam Reflections in Durham, 119 Garifraxa Street South. We'll make you look great so you feel fabulous.
The Snowbirds are coming to town. On
Yeah,
June
we're gonna be like
21st,
5 minutes
there's
over
only
time.
one place to be, the Saugeen Airport, and one direction to look. The Canadian Forces Snowbirds will be performing their special tradition of excellence to help our community celebrate Canada's 150th birthday, right here in Grey Bruce. The Snowbirds will showcase their amazing precision, skill, and teamwork throughout their thrilling display. This is a spectacle the whole family will enjoy. There's free admission, so mark your calendar, Wednesday, June 21st. For more information, visit snowbirds.saugeenairport.com.
2 minutes.
Income tax stressing you out? Let Bill Brown's Income Tax take the worry out of tax time for you. Simply drop off your information at their office. Bill and his qualified staff will gladly process and e-file your return. For seniors living in Hanover, they offer free pickup and delivery of returns for your added convenience. Call 519-364-3236 or drop in today at 667 10th Street, Hanover. Office hours are Monday to Friday, 9 to 6, and Saturday, 9 till 5. Bill Brown's Income Tax in Hanover, 3 doors down from Tim Hortons. 519-364-3236.
91.3 FM. Our community, your station.
Radio is brought to you by Bruce County Combat and Fitness in Walkerton. Check out the full list of classes at brucecountycombat.com. Martial Arts World Radio is brought to you by Bruce County Combat and Fitness in Walkerton. Check out the full list of classes at brucecountycombat.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Daniel Wilson, and you're listening to Joseph Clark at Martial Arts World Radio.
This week's inspirational quote is from Muhammad Ali and goes as follows. Don't count the days, make the days count. Muhammad Ali, 1942 to 2016. Our last interview is brought to you by Kyani independent distributor Daniel Girage. Kyani is a leading provider of all natural health and wellness products that provide athletes with faster post-training recovery and energy. Endorsed and used by professional fighters and martial artists, including Josh Tyler, Manny Pacquiao, and Jackie Chan. You can find out more by reaching out to Daniel at kyanihealthaustralia@gmail.com, or feel free to Skype him at that exact same address to keep it simple. Skype him at kyanihealthaustralia@gmail.com. Michael Matsuda is the founder and president of the Martial Arts History Museum located in Burbank, California. He was a contributing editor to Black Belt Magazine and Inside Kung Fu Magazine for over 20 years. Michael is the author of 4 books. He has been practicing martial arts for 45 years. Here to talk to us today about the world-famous, one-of-a-kind Martial Arts History Museum is Michael Matsuda.
To Martial Arts World Radio.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me here.
And my compliments to the Martial Arts History Museum. What an incredible contribution to martial arts culture. Please tell us more about the museum.
I tell you, it's a lot of hard work. Well, the museum is started in 1999. We began first as a traveling exhibit, and then we landed a location in 2006 in Santa Clarita, and from there we relocated to our current location in the city of Burbank in 2010. So this is our 18th year in the Martial Arts History Museum has been in existence, and this is our 6th year in our current location.
Well, congratulations. And what was the motivation for you at the beginning that got the initial seed planted so that you would start this endeavor?
Well, it's a long story. I'll make it short for you. Myself, I started the martial arts in the 60s, and I got to grow up around the greatest guys in the world. I've known Benny Urquidez when he was, a teenager, and all of these guys. Chuck Norris was just a competitor, and all these guys before any notoriety came. And living during that period, back in the 60s, you got to see the evolution of the martial arts, and I thought that was fantastic. And so when I got around college age, I decided to get a journalism degree and write for the magazines, which I did. And I wrote for Inside Kung Fu and Black Belt for a number of years. And then I started my own magazine called Martial Art Magazine. I did that for about 4 or 5 years. And it wasn't doing what I wanted to do. I wanted to focus more on history than tournaments. And that's what I was focusing on, too much tournament ads. So when someone offered to purchase from me, I did sell it, and I wanted to focus on history. And I said, a museum would be a nice way to keep our history alive. There isn't one out there. There's never been one out there. And I went back to school for another 10 years to learn how to do museums. And once I got all that knowledge behind me and the marketing courses and business and film, I decided, okay, I'm going to go ahead and go forward with it. We began as a traveling exhibit, wanted to see if there was enough people interested in supporting the museum. And once we did, I said, okay, we'll start a museum. And this way we can preserve our history, our past, and many generations from now can learn about the sacrifices that so many people made and the influence that Asian culture and history has had on American history.
Wow, Michael, what an accomplishment. And when you refer back to the 60s and even the 70s, kind of that golden era of martial arts, in some of my previous interviews with gentlemen like Bob Wall or Mike Stone or Michael DePasquale Jr., one of the things that I asked them commonly is, at the time, you were going through a golden era, but did you know at the time that it was a golden era? So I'd like to bounce that question off of you, Michael. Did you realize at the time that there was a real movement happening, or was it just something that you realized after the fact?
It was kind of a mix of things. You got to see these guys during the time period, and you got to see, the beginnings. I was still a kid in the 60s, and so I caught the Chuck Norris was already competing, and those guys were already competing and getting out there. And so I came in a little bit past the blood and guts, just at the blood and guts, the end of the blood and guts era, they call it. And so I got to see all these guys competing, and I thought it was just amazing. So much great competition, to see all these guys out there, and Benny fighting, and Bill Wallace fighting, and Don Wilson fighting, and you just didn't realize how great it was, but you savored in how wonderful it was. So I thought it was a tremendous time. I didn't realize it was going to be such an iconic time, but I savored the development of everything and how it sprouted. It's like when the Model T happened. I wasn't there then. Well, when the Model T happened, all of a sudden the car era started to take off, and everybody started making cars. Same thing in the martial arts. The 60s really came, but it was the 70s that, the late 60s and the 70s that really started catapulting things, and the 80s and that whole time period you got to be part of. And it was really exciting to watch. So I really enjoyed that.
And can you give me some examples of some of the professionals who've given you support in the endeavor of the museum? Perhaps some world champions or some cinema stars and memorable names or recognizable names who've helped contribute and support the museum?
You know, we're very thankful for the support we have at the museum. You know, this museum is really built on so many of the little people rather than the big stars like Chuck Norris or, you know, Jet Li or Jackie Chan. It is the small little people that have come along, you know, martial arts instructors, not movie stars, who have really supported the museum, like Alan Horn. He's a karate guy, but he's also head of Disney. He's helped the museum. We've had fighters like Don Wilson and Cynthia Rothrock and Benny Urquidez help us out, do exhibits for us, do seminars for us. Richard Bustillo done seminars and donated all the money to the museum. You know, we've had a lot of these fighters come and help us out and be part of the museum, either at our conventions or at special events or workshops or something like that. Like Art Camacho's been a big help to the museum. And many other people have come along the way, Eric Lee, James Liu, you know, all those guys have come along the way and continually help us out, Kathy Long, all those guys. And I'm very grateful for that. You know, I've gotten the chance to know everybody like Kathy and them when they were just getting in the ring. And Don when he was just getting, and Bill when he was fighting out there. And they got to know me because I was a writer for the magazine all that time. So they got to know me and I got to know them. And when I started this venture, they were all happily on board to help me out because they already knew me.
You know, we have such a similar path, Michael, because I got started, I mean, I was involved in film and television and radio for some time, but the doors opened for me within that community when I wrote a couple of books. And one of the books, 21st Century Perspectives on Martial Arts, I was in town in Los Angeles, interviewing many of the names that you just spoke of, like Don Wilson and Benny the Jet Urquidez and Cynthia Rothrock. And one of the things that I found is they're so incredibly supportive. And then it almost, from that point, honeycombed out because then they open doors for you and they introduce you to people. So I can certainly relate to what you're saying. And I'm sure you'll agree, based on your experience with the museum and my experience with this radio show, that the true splendor of the journey are all these neat people and friends and acquaintances that you make along the way, the relationships that you form.
Oh, yeah. You know, people always ask me, what's my favorite part of the museum? And there's many great things in the museum. You know, by the way, everything is donated to the museum 100%. You know, everything. Matter of fact, we just got Alvis's uniform I'm looking at right now. They're just donated to us. And people donate all the time, but my favorite part of the museum is the journey. You know, the journey because we got to meet so many great people. And not just, you know, well-known competitors and so on, martial arts instructors or martial arts enthusiasts or fans. And those are the people who really help build the museum and support us and get behind us. So I'm very, very thankful for that.
Now, I mentioned that Rob Moses, who was one of my earlier guests on the show, he recommended that I reach out to you, but now that you mentioned Art Camacho also spoke very highly of you at the museum, by the way, and I just wanted to share that with you.
Ah, he's a great guy. Yeah, matter of fact, Art is one of the board members of the museum. He came in after about our third year and helped the museum get its feet wet, you know, and get on there and bring things to the museum and really catapult it out there. So he was a major factor in the museum.
Would you share with us some of the places in the world where some of your guests come to visit the museum?
You know, I used to have a map here, and I put a little pin on each place all over the world. I filled the entire map, literally. You know, we get people from Russia, from China, from Turkey, you name it. Every single country has come here. Be that as it may, we're right down the street from the airport. But they've come from every country to come. And, you know, because there's Kung Fu in Iran and Africa and Jiu-Jitsu and Brazil and, you know, the Yugoslavia and everywhere. So they come here, and this is the only home for the martial arts. This is it. This is the only museum. This will ever be the only museum, I can tell you that. But it's the only home, and they come and they relive their past, and they look towards the future here, and they really enjoy it. So we've had everybody from every part of the world come here.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions, which was, are you aware of if there are any other martial arts history museums anywhere in the world, or is it unique?
No, this is the only one. Now, you know, granted, in China, they have museums toward Kung Fu. In Japan, you know, they have museums that focus on samurai and karate and different things like that. You know, that's all out there and that's part of other museums. But this is the only one by itself, and it's the only one focusing on the martial arts as a whole. Our main focus is Asian arts right now because of space availability, but when we expand, we'll add a lot more into here. But we are the only museum, period. You know, it's a hard job. I cannot tell you how hard it is. And we've invested so much money and so much education learning how to do this. You know, some people have tried to put stuff together and call it a museum, and it's gone within a year because there's so much business and marketing background behind it, and then how you preserve the museum stuff and how to display it, you know, the type size, the attention span, the flow of the museum, you know, that whole marketing plan, tours and kids and, you know, everything, every aspect of the museum, how not to make it a who's who, to make it based on culture and history. And that's what we've done. And that's why the museum has been a success for 18 years. So we are the only one, period. And I can tell you right now, there will not be another because of the amount of investment involved in it. You know, they've been trying to do the Bruce Lee Museum for a long time, but, you know, it takes a lot of work. It really does. And if you don't have the education behind you, you can just be a storefront and put stuff on your wall. You know, it doesn't make you a museum. You need to be able to work with the community and work with the public and work with kids and tours and all that. So we've gone to great lengths to do that. And I'm very glad that after 150 plus years of the martial arts in America, we finally have a museum dedicated to the martial arts that people enjoy.
It just sounds great. You referenced earlier that you have Elvis Presley gi, I take it, or training uniform. What else can we expect when we visit the museum?
Well, you know, you got some really cool stuff. You have a few old things. Now, our goal is to focus on both old and new. We want to make it, you know, a little bit touchable so the kids can touch it. So some of the stuff is not that old. But we do have a couple 100-year-old items. We have one of Futakoshi's students' uniform here, a judo uniform, 100 years old, a kendo uniform, 100 years old. And then we also have stuff, Chinese lions, the drums from the parade. You know, we have a lot of Cynthia Rothrock's outfit here. We have Leo Fong's out here, Rizal Kaiwala's outfit. You know, Tino Tiolo Sega's uniform here, Jimmy H. Wu's uniform, Art Wai Wong's uniform. You know, we got a lot of pioneers uniform here, which is really nice to have that, you know, and we have Al DeCosca's uniform here, and Eric Lee's uniform here, you know, Wen Meiyu's uniform here. That's just in uniforms. And artifacts, we have a lot of the weapons and stuff like that, but we also have a lot of stuff from film and movie. You know, we have the actual headband from the Karate Kid too. We have the actual coat worn by Ralph Macchio. You know, we have the gopher chucks from Kung Pao movie. You know, so we got some really fun stuff here that people enjoy, from Big Trouble in Little China to the Cobra Kai and the Karate Kid and the shield from Mortal Kombat and Hawaiian Lua, you know, weapons and anime history and all that. So, you know, it's a fun, well-rounded look at history and how martial arts played a key role in American history and how that influenced the films and influenced today's MMA fighting, you know, from taking it from kickboxing all the way to K1 and so on, and all the way into the mixed martial arts that are so popular today. You know, we even have Chuck Liddell shorts here.
Chuck Liddell shorts, terrific. So you really, you really are bringing it up to modern day and bridging any of the gaps. And that's really exciting, isn't it? You know, going from the point karate era to the full contact karate era, which you know, transitioned into kickboxing and Benny the Jet and Don the Dragon legacy in that sport, and then how that evolved into MMA. How far back do you go in history and the museum?
You know, one of the things I enjoy talking about is the transition from point fighting to today's mixed martial arts. You were mentioning you have a lot of reviewers that do that. You know, during that time period, I was really happy to be part of the martial arts and during the 70s when Bill Wallace was a point fighter and then making the transition to full contact. You know, guys like Cecil People, who I trained with, and other guys, going into that era from point fighting into full contact, what a disaster that was. You know, it was the biggest disaster. It was a great idea, you know, taking point fighting and going into the ring. But a lot of the guys never knew how to train for a ring format. You know, they were getting tired because after a few minutes, because they weren't used to the calisthenics, you know, running around and punching and hitting. They were used to being a point called and waiting for your point, you know, resting a few seconds. So it was such a disaster. People didn't know how to train. They didn't know how to tie their hands. They were getting knocked in the face that they'd never been knocked in the face before. So we saw the emergence of a new era, kickboxing or full contact karate, and the rules were all over the place. And Richard Senator Torrey banned kickboxing until we got new rules, and to see the rules finally come to fruition, and then to finally see kickboxing reestablish itself through Benny Urquidez and other guys, and then finally get recognized, and then that evolution from kickboxing into MMA. So that was a very exciting time in the martial arts. So I was really happy to actually be training there and knowing
yeah, 4 minutes.
Benny right at that time period and watching them train and watching them fight. You know, I got to cover Benny's fights, so that was really fun for the magazine. That was really fun. So it was a great time, a great transition. So sorry, that wasn't your question, but I had to throw that in.
No, actually, that was really interesting. And when I've spoken to both Benny Urquidez and Bill Wallace, for example, they both said very quickly, you know, going from point karate into full contact and kickboxing in the ring, they realized very, very quickly that for upper body strikes and punches, they had to train like a boxer. So they were relearning certain skills and then applying it to, you know, similar strategies, point karate, but definitely, you know, the cardio and the ability to stand up and Western box was critical if they were going to make it in that sport.
Oh yeah, you know, Benny and them really introduced it. You know, Benny was a boxer beforehand, so he was already used to that. Yeah. But to watch these guys go out of breath in the second round, you know, it was an interesting time period. You know, it really was. So it was wonderful to see that transition to add boxing and, you know, to add these unique movements that you're going to have to readjust it for the ring, and to see that finally take off and evolve was a great sight. And then to see the like Casillas and Lily Rodriguez and those guys get their feet wet and start getting out there, you know, and doing full contact karate, kickboxing for women, to see that established, that was really, really a nice venture to see.
Now, Michael, would you tell us a little bit about the Martial Arts History Museum Hall of Fame?
Well, you know, there are many halls of fame, as you know. Yeah, doing the martial arts since the 60s, you see them all. You know, I was just talking to Mike Stone about his Golden Fist Awards he used to have many years ago. But, you know, there are so many halls of fame. And, you know, I'm not the one to put down anybody's Hall of Fame. I just don't do that.
So he's got
I always believe people should receive recognition, and I'm very happy people receive recognition for the things they do in the martial arts. What we've done, though, for the museum is to create something as a singular thing. We wanted people to be looked at.
I saw that
Martial
cover.
Arts History Museum, the people inside the Hall of Fame to be historic, to do something that changed the history of America or the world. You know, people like Oswald Wallace opened the doors to non-Chinese. You know, Benny Urquidez, we revamped kickboxing and literally saved it because of adding boxing and all that to that. You know, some iconic people who have made an historic impact on history and changed it for the better. You know, there are many great people out there, fantastic martial artists, some of the greatest fighters you've ever seen, and point fighters and competitors and former competitors, and they're all amazing and wonderful. But there are a few of them that made that historic impact and changed history forever, like Eric Lee was one of the first earliest Kung Fu guys in tournaments, you know, Al Dacascos and Eric Lee. These are historical achievements. So that's what the Museum's Hall of Fame is about, historical achievements, what they did to not just change their environment, but change the entire martial arts community for the better. And that's what the Museum's Hall of Fame is.
Well, Michael, I have to congratulate you on the museum and on the Hall of Fame, and thank you for joining us today. And for our listeners who are on their devices, where shall we direct them on the web to look you up in case they have any more information they'd like to get about the Hall of Fame?
Yes, you can look at the Martial Arts History Museum website at mamuseum.com, or contact us at 818-478-1722. We're in the city of Burbank, 2319 West Magnolia Boulevard, the city of Burbank. We are a nonprofit organization, so 100% of the funds come in go to help the museum. So we are completely supported by donations and support of the community.
Michael, thank you once again for joining us today and talking to us about the Martial Arts History Museum.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
This has been an interview with Michael Matsuda, president of the Martial Arts History Museum. Be sure to check us out at www.mawradio.com and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube by following Martial Arts World Radio. I'm Joseph Clark, and thank you for joining us.